Wow. Can I thank you very much for mentioning that there are already millions of existing villages. That was just like a real shock or a flash in my brain because I never even thought about that. I kept thinking you have to go buy a piece of land and then you got to, tell other people about it and invite other people and all that, but really that's just backwards. I mean, not that that's backwards to do that as well. You can do that as well. But gosh, you're right. I mean, there are so many existing villages. That just leads so much hope for other people to just, hey, you don't have to be a millionaire. And I know, like, I have a book called The Earth. What is it called? The Hand Sculpted House. And it's about how to build a house just, basically out of mud, with your own hands. And I'm thinking the people that have this knowledge and don't need a mansion, they're going to be the ones that are sitting far more comfortably in the very near future. I mean, we're going to have to humble our pride and get into a humble home if we want to survive this. I think that's how I see it as well. And, not to mention working in harmony with the environment and all the other benefits that come from humbling yourself. When you live in a natural home, now you have no toxic gases emitting and poisoning you and your children and whatever else, So thank you for that.
Well, absolutely. And also, with this idea of joining existing villages, that already pushes down the criticism that's been thrown at the idea of a Muslim village. As I was explaining to you earlier, Sheikh Imran, on our website, as well as other websites and forums, you have discussions regarding the Muslim village, and one of the most recurrent criticisms thrown at this is the idea of, it's not really an answer to build a little village and escape from society, then you end up hurting that society. That Muslims must be social animals and they must do da'wah and whatnot. But the concept of joining existing villages around the world, separate little ones, is then in fact enhancing society rather than escaping from society.
Brilliant.
You're coming with the knowledge and you're building, and probably that's perhaps even one of the more powerful ways that you can fight the Dajjal system, when you have such self-sufficient locations around the world with people who are being enriched both physically, mentally, and spiritually to be prepared for this fitna that's coming. And
I have a secret to share with you, and that is that the establishment of the village, or the entering into an existing village and trying to transform it, forms a strategic part of our da'wah system. And that is that if you take someone who is oppressed, you take someone who is living in a community where it is racked with violence, you take someone who is living in a society in which families are falling apart and children are becoming wild and unmanageable, and then bring that person or bring that family on a visit to a Muslim village, and let them see the peace and the harmony and the stability of the village. Let them see the women so happy in the village, and women who are women, not a community in which the night is trying to become day, but women who are enchantingly women, and men who are men, not apologies for men, and children who are growing up like flowers in the garden, okay? And the tears will come from their eyes, and they will long to live in this village and become Muslim. They will take the Shahada faster than if you were to deliver 1,000 lectures to them. That's what we're trying to do in Trinidad, because we have those parts of our country which are racked with violence, and families are falling apart. And when we establish our village, our strategy is to invite these people to come. And when they come and they see the way we live, they would become so addicted to it that instead of our withdrawing and turning our backs on society, that society will actually be coming to us to become Muslim.
What a beautiful answer to the criticism. Oh, it couldn't have been better.
Absolutely.
And I think
that's exactly what happened in for a lot of the Eastern Asian countries who had converted to Islam, the people there converted just by witnessing the Islamic society, how it was, in the same way that Sheikh Imran beautifully described it. That alone had inspired them to convert. It wasn't people coming to them and arguing with them for hours and telling them that their faith is wrong and whatnot. It was just people being Muslims the way they were supposed to be had caught the attentions of others, which had attracted them. And that's, I mean, I got goosebumps just listening to that, because that is how things should be, and this is a very oppressive society. But please go on, Susan, you were speaking.
Well, I was going to say, I believe Sheikh Imran, you were saying that within the village, it should be open, obviously, to other people outside of the village, let's say on market day or something like that, so people can come and interact. And then exactly what you were saying, I was envisioning the same thing. People will see this whole sort of light and peace and joy exuding from these people and be like, sweetie, let's get rid of the mansion and let's build ourselves a mud hut. I want to be here, and I just think, this is how we do battle with the oppressor. Wow. And I know you also talk about education for children and how education must be fun. And if I could just share a short, inspiring story with everybody. I'm kind of enamored with this set of books called the Anastasia Ringing Cedar series. And she talks in these books about everybody needing to get back to the land and creating eco-villages and all this stuff. And she details in one of the books this school in Russia where the children, because of the nature of it, they have to actually live at the school. But ideally, this would be beautiful in a Muslim village. But she's saying the whole nature of education must be flipped upside down. And instead of, teaching children to memorize this fact and that fact, we need to teach children or to allow them to develop their thinking. And that's what we want to instill in children. And she gives this example of this one school in Russia. And I have since bought a CD, and I've actually seen a little documentary on this school. They tried to shut it down after it was mentioned in the books, but they were unsuccessful. But anyway, these children, they learn like 11 years of math in 1 year. They graduate at the age of 17 with a master's degree. They learn martial arts, music, folk dancing. They learn, and same exact concept you were saying, men to be men and women to be women. And one of the author of the books, he said he went to go interview some of these children, and he said, at the beginning he was going to sort of patronize like this little girl who's 10 years old, and he said the wisdom that came out of this little 10-year-old was just embarrassing to him, because she's sitting there speaking like she's talking about the qualities that she's looking for in a husband, and these were good, sound qualities. And he's like comparing that to poor city children that, just are completely lost. I mean, it's just a sadness. But anyway, I think you mentioned as well that, education within the village must be fun for the children, because that's how they really, really learn. And I wonder if you might go give a little bit of details on your idea of a proper educational system for the children.
One of the distinctive characteristics of modern Western civilization is its secularization of knowledge and education. We take God out of the classroom. Mm-hmm. In the Muslim village, we will ensure that the Quran is the foundation of knowledge and education. And so from day one, the Quran will remain the pivot, the focus. At the beginning, you learn to recite the Quran in Arabic. And then you learn to memorize the Quran. And when you memorize the Quran, you also taught that you must constantly recite the Quran. And reciting the Quran means reciting the Quran cover to cover. And when you finish, you start again. And when you finish, you start again. You're taught that part of the process through which you internalize the Quran is that you must recite it with melody. And you must recite it with rhythm. And you cannot do that if you're reciting it at 95 miles an hour. You get a speeding ticket for that. The recitation of the Quran in the early hours of the morning is witnessed by Allah. This is part of the educational system. And so you learn to wake in the morning early. But you cannot wake in the morning early if you're sitting up and watching television until midnight.